Sorry about my big hand there. Welcome to another episode of the Cult of Copy Show. I'm your host, the Reverend Dr. Sir Colin D. Terrio, Pontifex Maximus of the Cult of Copy. For those unfamiliar, Cult of Copy is 10 years old. It is it's more than that. It began as a community of working freelance copywriters that I started as a Facebook group. Now you can go to cultofcopy.com, subscribe to our daily emails. I do weekly trainings for copywriters, and of course, this weekly free show. I used to do it a long time ago. I'm trying to kick it back off in 2023. This is our third episode. We did a third episode, but no one could hear me, unfortunately. So hopefully, people can hear me this time. We'll see. The recording did not have any sound. The last one I did, and then I skipped a week, but we're back at it. I'm trying to do it every week for you guys as we can. Mentioning business, I said we do trainings every week. If you are interested, this week's training is on turning your competitors into customers, which is a big deal. If you are a service provider and you do service for clients, you want to get off that hamster wheel, maybe give yourself a safety net or segue away from doing pure service, sell your knowledge. You would be mistaken if you think that your client base is the best audience for that same information. Reason being, they're hiring you to do a service for them. They don't really care about the knowledge. They want the result. Even if they wanted to learn to do it themselves, in the case of a copywriter, for example, how many times are they going to write a sales letter? Once? Twice? Meanwhile, if you turn your competitors into your customers, they see a lot more value in that exact same information because they use it over and over again to serve many clients. So you can charge more for it. They're less concerned about polish. It doesn't have to be a pretty, decorative, nice-looking product when you sell to your quote-unquote competitors because it's all about the material and any problems you solve in your own business as a copywriter or whatever you do. When you sell it to your competitors, those guys have the exact same problems that you do. So your solutions are valuable to them. Anyway, I digress. That is this Friday's training, Friday, February 3rd, 2 p.m. Eastern. We record it live. If you register, you get the recordings as well. It is, you can find the details at cultofcopy.com/competitors into customers. I'll also try to put a link to it at the bottom in the description of this video. New business, all done, finished, no business any further. Now we'll get to the content of the show. Let me pull up my notes here. I came prepared. So, as mentioned in the subject line of this video and in the many teasers I posted, subject today is making information products out of your knowledge and experience and expertise so you can sell them. As you can see, it's kind of related to the live training I just mentioned. So let's start with some foundational ideas, okay? So one of the things that the internet has done since it has come into existence and come to dominate our lives is create an explosion of information. Now, a lot of that information, you can't tell where it came from. It's unsourced. You don't know where the person who wrote it got it. Did they make it up? Is it a lie? Is it true? Where does it come from? And there's so much of it, right? Like often if someone's trying to solve a problem that they have and they're looking for solutions, they're not going to not find an answer. They're going to find 50 answers and most of them contradict each other. So the thing with information on the internet is that it is overly abundant and hard to vet the value of it, and therefore it is nearly worthless, right? Like you can't charge for it because there's so much of it for free, and what's out there for free is unverified, unvalidated, unqualified. It's hard to tell the difference. Now, information is not what you want to package up if you want to create your own information products, despite them being called that. That's just the common term. What you really want to be able to package up is knowledge And to me, this is my special cult of copy definition. Knowledge is the combination of information and experience. So knowledge is unique to you because you have taken a piece of information you got from somewhere and you put it into play, you tested it, you took action, you figured out what worked, what didn't work, maybe added in some fixes, maybe combined methods you got from different places and made something new. Pair that with your unique experience in manipulating and changing that information. Now you have created knowledge. Now, knowledge is valuable. People will pay for knowledge because it's vetted, it's verified. They know who you are, they know what you've done, they know how you tested it. Who you are becomes a value multiplier for that particular piece of information because they can associate whether it's worth it or not based on who you are relative to that information. Now, to take it a step further, wisdom is knowledge that has been tested again and again and been proven true. So it's not just true for you. You've shared it with other people. They've put it to the test and found the things that you said to be valid. Wisdom is extremely valuable because it's already proven to be universal to some degree and portable, meaning if I take a piece of knowledge and test it and it works for me, and you take that same piece of knowledge and test it and it works for you, now it's wisdom. Now we can pass it on to anyone and it's got a great chance of working for them as well. So thinking of what you do as testing information, turning it into knowledge, and then passing it on so it converts into wisdom, now you sell wisdom. And the wise man is certainly a sought-after role in any arena. The reason being, wisdom, you can think of wisdom basically as like the how to live, right? If you don't know how to do it, wisdom is what you should do in order to, survive and thrive and get by and solve your problems, etc., right? Like back in the ancient days, you have the shaman, who's the wise man of the tribe. He collects all the wisdom so that they know what to do when certain problems arise, and they've collected it and tested it over generations. That's what that guy has. That's what he brings to the equation. Now, when you're looking at yourself as this person who's a filter, you turn information into knowledge and then develop it and produce it into wisdom. Now you have a valuable thing to sell that people want to know. Looking at all the different free information out there, yours is going to stand out because it's been tested, it's been fixed, it's been repaired, it's been put through the steps and turned into something worth more than what it was when they began. So here's the general process, very simply laid out. And again, for a free YouTube show, I'm not going to dig too deep into it, but this is the simple steps basically. So if you are an expert currently selling expert services, you can begin there. You already have knowledge that you've taken information, it's been tempered by experience. Chances are you know things about your industry that you have already forgotten, that you don't even realize how valuable they are to the people who haven't done those things yet. But even if you're not, the general process is you learn something valuable. And one of the most valuable things you can learn is the solution to a problem a bunch of people have. Now, if you're an expert doing your own business things, right? So for me, as a freelance copywriter, I put a bunch of things into work in my own business, and I tested them, things other copywriters said to do, things that I read different places. I saw it work for me. I turned that into information products that I sold my own audience because I knew if I solved my own problems, that's valuable to me. There's got to be other people who have that same problem, and it's going to be valuable to them. So that's how I began. That's the setup of what I was trying to do. I didn't record my process at the time that I was solving these problems. I learned to do that as a habit, but that's generally what you want to do. When you're learning to solve this problem, you want to record your process, whether that's taking notes or you actually visually record yourself solving the problem or attempting to. It's up to you, whatever's easier, but the idea is you're not just trying to solve it and you save yourself some time if you don't have to go back and recreate it. Instead, I'm solving this problem so that I can record the solution and pass that value on to other people. So you want to pay attention to what you're doing to solve that problem. Record your process. Now, what's going to happen if you take information that you find elsewhere and you put it to the test? You're going to find that it has flaws. It's going to have holes. It's not going to apply specifically to what you're doing, or maybe it creates a different emergent problem, or you find something that's missing and you got to find something else to plug in the hole that method is lacking. Keep track of all that. Record all of it. Figure out how to do it. Test those things and patch the holes that you find. This is part of what makes it your unique knowledge. You can also compile methods. I recommend to people, if you're trying to solve a problem, don't find one solution, find 3 and see how you can combine them, merge them, overlap them, blend them together, and then fix the holes that you find. And that's how you end up with something new, even though you began not knowing anything and borrowing information from other sources. Once you do that, you have created knowledge. You find a process that works for you, you get results, you like them, they're measurable. Ta-da, congratulations. You have sellable, valuable knowledge to anyone who needs a solution to that same problem that you have solved. Now, how can you package that up so you can sell it to people? I'm old enough to remember when ebooks were a big thing. You used to be able to literally sell PDF documents to people. I think you still can. There's still a market for that. It's not like the hot commodity it used to be. People are not hot to buy digital books. It has lost its appeal. It is not unique and cool as a format anymore. Now, that's not to say they don't still have their use. I publish many documents which I sell for sale, but I generally use them as the lowest tier in my info product business. The PDF version of something is going to be the cheapest, but also the shortest, the least detailed. You don't get a cool video of me talking, walking you through it, or interacting with people, answering questions and things like that. Generally, they can be shorter, and the idea is you can use them, maybe even give them away for free, or in exchange for contact information for subscribers. Using short, useful documents is a way to get people's attention and prove to them that you know what you're talking about, and use that as bait to get them to go deeper in for more expensive information products that you may sell. The next step up, and the one that I use primarily, is video training courses on screen, like you're seeing me now. I don't do those as much. Most of the time I'm sharing my screen and showing notes and structures and documentation that we talk our way through to teach people a particular method or a template for solving a particular problem, something like that. Other people do info products where it's a physical activity that they're doing. So you have to actually learn a little bit of cinematography and movie magic to figure out how to shoot things and how to light it so people can see what you're doing. The internet video has been around long enough that has become a developed field where people make very slick, very professional looking videos in a variety of arenas. When I do my videos, just to share some technical stuff, and again, I want to say, I say this a lot when I refer people to products or services. I'm not a person who tests many different things. When I find something that works, if it works, I just keep using it. I don't try a bunch of different ones to find the pros and cons. I'm not really a reviewer in that way, but I will tell you what I use. So doing one-off video trainings, I record them live via GoToWebinar, which I've been a customer of for a super long time. So I have a really good price that's grandfathered in from way back in the day. It's more expensive now, but I do find it to still be valuable because you can plug it directly to a Stripe account and charge people to attend your webinar. So that takes care of, how do I sell this? People have to pay to register. You just show up and deliver your content. And if you're not good at doing things live, I'm very well practiced at it. If you're not good at doing things live, you can pre-record it and play them a video presentation on the date where you release whatever it is that you do. People can register up to that point and pay to attend. Works out great. Beyond that, I take all the video trainings that I do and I put them into a membership site. I use Kajabi. It's easy. I helped launch them way back in the day, although I think they're on like their third iteration. It's not at all the one that I helped them sell originally. I like it because I've had zero customer service issues. When you sign up and pay for Kajabi, you get your login, you get your details, payments work great, you can connect it to Stripe and PayPal. Works good for me. I digress. Anyway, I take all the individual trainings I do, I stick them in Kajabi, and I also sell them as a membership. You can buy a bunch of trainings from me individually, or you can pay me annually or monthly and get access to all the trainings I've ever done. That's my current info product business model. So the training I mentioned that I'm doing this week, you can buy it by itself, or you can just join the Cult of Copy Vault membership, get access to that and everything else. So that's how I currently sell those. One thing I want to mention, this pertains especially to if you do that trick I mentioned as part of the training this week, where you turn your competitors into customers. They do not care as much about polish and graphic cuteness and proper grammar and things like that, as long as you are delivering the value. So that helps you save a step when you do it that way. But I do want to point out that I mentioned video content has become highly developed, and even people on an amateur level are using expensive professional equipment and techniques and things like that. I'm not. I'm just filming you from my iPad screen with my earbuds here. But there was a term that was used, I can't remember where it originated from, it was when I first started with marketing, and the idea is called slick as dick, meaning if you make it too slick, people see you as pushing, as marketing to them, as trying to be a professional salesperson. And admittedly, we are trying to sell them things, but we want to sell them as a peer, as a colleague, as someone in the trenches with them, someone solving these problems right there. So to the extent that you are a real person and not going through tons of polish and graphical flares and using professional equipment, that can have its own appeal because you seem like a real person and they can relate to you. And relating to you is what sells these things, not necessarily the slick and polished look. To lend more to that, one other thing I want to talk about in this week's episode, something I have taught and applied to myself years and years ago. I can't remember who wrote the book, but I read a science fiction book on the beach when I was on vacation. It was called, I think it was called The Bellwether Effect. And I swiped that term and adapted it to info marketing on the internet. Now, it's a farming term. A bellwether is a wether is a castrated male sheep. A bellwether is the one in the flock that they put a bell around his neck because he's like the leader of the flock of sheep. Now, the trick with that is sheep don't have a leader where they're like, that guy's the alpha, he's the boss, let's all do what he says. That's not how sheep work. They're very fickle, and they get bored, and they want to do what the sheep next to them is doing, right? Like that's why they call people who are like that sheeple, right? That's what sheep are known to do. They just random, hey, do whatever, what's that guy doing? I want to do that too. Now, the trick with the bellwether is he happens to be the sheep that gets bored first. So he gets bored, changes his mind about what he's doing. He goes to do something else. He moves over there. He eats this grass versus that grass. Whatever the case is, all the sheep around him say, oh, hey, what's that guy doing? I want to do that too. So they follow that sheep. And then all the sheep around those sheep see the same thing, and it's like a ripple effect, right? That first sheep moves first, all the others see him move and are interested and follow. So the trick is, if you're the shepherd, you put a bell around that sheep's neck, and that way you know where the flock is going to go, because wherever that bell moves is where all the other sheep are going to go, because they want to follow that sheep that moves first. What's that got to do with you? It applies to a method you can think of as leading from the middle. So you don't have to get on the soapbox or the podium and declare yourself the leader, the genius, the guy with all the answers, or gal, whatever the case may be. You don't have to do that. Instead of declaring yourself a leader to gain followers, you just do what you're going to do, and you make yourself easy to follow. You leave breadcrumbs, you make trainings to tell people how to do what you're doing, and at the level you're at, you develop a following because you make it easy for you to be followed. So everyone who wants to do what you're doing and sees you doing it can follow along because you make it easy. They can do the same things that you're doing because you lay it out step by step. Sell trainings, for example. So you lead from the middle and you end up with a following because you make yourself easier to follow. And eventually when your following hits a certain size, people look at you as a leader, even though you never declare yourself as that, because a person with a bunch of followers is, by definition, a leader of sorts, right? So you don't ever have to be a high achiever. You don't have to reach the top of the pinnacle of your field before you can turn around and start helping people. People see value in someone who's only 2 steps ahead of them, turning around to give them a helping hand. So hopefully that can maybe take away some of your anxiety about like, well who am I? Who's going to listen to me? I'm not that advanced. There are a ton of people who are less advanced than you. If you've done something successfully, everyone who wants to, who hasn't yet, now can look up to you, and you can make it easy to do whatever it is that they want to do. Let's talk real quick as we wrap it up today about things you would need if you're starting an info product business based off your services. Presumably, if you sell services currently that you are an expert in, you might have some of these things and you can just graft on these other bits. If not, these are things you would need to put in place if you're starting from scratch. Obviously, where's your audience going to come from? Number one place to find people who have problems is social media, because they like to get on social media and complain about those problems and even self-organize into groups where they discuss those problems with each other. That makes it real easy to find people who need the help that you can give them. So social media accounts, in particular ones that are associated with what you're selling. So whether you need to make a special account for that is up to you. I don't, because my work is my life. I'm one of those people where I'm not a Renaissance man. I don't do a bunch of different things. The one thing I do is what I do. So I'm happy to associate my personal accounts with the work that I do. So in addition to social media accounts, the other thing I would recommend is having a domain name that you own and bought, for this particular business venture of yours. And you don't need a whole big website. I have a blog, a WordPress blog. I put a bunch of content there because writing content is what I do for a living. But at a minimum, you want like a business card site or something. For years, I had cultofcopy.com point directly to my Facebook group, which was my main social media presence for what it is that I do and teach. Only years later did I set up a website there and point people that way. But at a minimum, you want a central place, a domain that you own. So all the content, all the participation, everything that you do everywhere else to look cool and share your secrets and, get people interested in what you're doing. They have a place they can go where they can get the rest. Or at a minimum, just find out how to get in touch with you and find out more. The next step would be to have some kind of subscription mechanism where people can give you their contact information voluntarily in order to get more. The simplest one is subscribing to an email list of some kind. Again, I use Aweber. I always have. They've been around forever. Never tried anything else. I don't know if anything else is better, but they work for me. That's the one I use. They kind of have been around so long, they invented the email autoresponder. I don't even use those. That's when someone signs up. You can predetermine a series of emails to send them. I just broadcast an email list every day. You can subscribe at cultofcopy.com. That's how I do it. Having that email list is how you notify your audience, the people who are interested in what you're doing, when you have a new training for sale. Of course, you can use social media the same way I'm doing content here on YouTube for you to inform people who've never heard of you how to dive deeper in and get more stuff from you and subscribe. But I tend to look at my subscriber base as the people who like me the most. They're the most interested in what I do. They're the most hardcore. They're the most deeply connected to what it is that I do for a living, and that's the idea. It is closer to you, more direct contact, as opposed to checking in on a social media account whenever they feel like it. So just with those simple mechanisms, a central website, even if it's just a business card site or a subscribe to my email page, a way to collect contact information, which you use at a minimum, emailing people on a regular basis about your new trainings, and a social media presence where you participate, you answer people's questions, you look for people who need help that you can provide, and of course, you post and broadcast about new products that you have for sale. And I told you how to make those products by solving problems yourself, using information you find on the internet, testing it, combining it, fixing the holes, making it your own, and recording the process along the way. If you have any questions, leave them in a comment. I had the chat box open the whole time. I didn't see anybody pop in. It is a new show. Maybe people will be more interactive in the future the longer I do these. That's all the information I have for you today in this episode of the Cult of Copy Show. Once again, I am Colin D. Theriault, Pontifex Maximus of the Cult of Copy, and I hope you will tune in next week. Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern is when I'm trying to do new episodes of this. If you like this and want more, you can go to cultofcopy.com, read some of the stuff I have there, subscribe to my email list, or if you're on Facebook, you can join the Cult of Copy discussion group. Once more, I will mention we're doing a live training this Friday on turning your competitors into customers. If you are a service provider and want to start selling information, it is all about that, how to turn the people you currently consider competitors into an active audience who buys your knowledge from you. And not only can you do info products, but you can do consulting, coaching, mentoring, all kinds of things. Because once they look up to you as the person who knows how to solve the problems they have, they will ask you for more and more help. And that's it. You can make a whole career out of helping people do what you have taught yourself how to do successfully. That's what I've done, and I'd be more than happy to share that with you. You can register for that at cultofcopy.com/competitors-into-customers. And that's Friday, February 3rd, 2023, 2 p.m. Eastern. I think that's it. I need to do better maybe at writing a script so I remember all the things I need to say. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that was valuable to you. I appreciate you. Reach out anytime if I can be of help, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye, everyone.